What's up, guys? It's time for the first Tech News Day of the year.
Yeah, so we got so wrapped up in the fact that as soon as the ball dropped on 2018, one of YouTube's biggest stars made a video exploiting a dead body hanging from a noose, that we still haven't had an opportunity to dive into something even worse from the tail end of 2017. Swatting finally got someone fucking killed. Happy New Year.
Oh, good for all of us. Swatting, for those of you who aren't aware, is when a person makes a false report to law enforcement, usually under a false identity, about an active shooter or hostage situation at the location of their intended victim, in the hope of getting a SWAT team just sent over to that location to knock down doors and scare the shit out of unsuspecting people at that location. It's, oh, what a fun prank.
A real thrill. Swatting is, for whatever reason, I have some theories, especially popular among gamers and people who spend an excessive amount of time lurking on the internet. And this latest case stemmed from a Twitter argument over a Call of Duty match that had a wager of $1.50. The details are still kind of unclear, but it seems that two players who were apparently on the same team and were mad about losing got into some sort of argument, and one of them threatened to swat the other one, so he asked a Twitter user called @Swatistic to do it for him. Swatistic then started taunting his intended target, and that target, the guy, he DM'd him back with his supposed address saying, "Please try some shit. I'll be waiting."
So Swatistic, we went ahead and placed a call to the police in Wichita, Kansas, that he was at that address, that he'd already murdered one person and was holding several other people hostage. So the Wichita police sent over a SWAT team who surrounded the house, and when a man in the house came out to figure out what the hell was going on, he apparently didn't comply to the cops' satisfaction, so they shot him dead.
See, they asked him to put his hands up, but he did it too fast.
No, what I saw in the video is that he was standing there and he was confused, and then they shined a giant light on him, and he jerked really quick, so they shot him. I mean,
damn you and your human reflexes. But yeah, to make matters worse, it wasn't even the real address of the guy, the target. He had given Swatistic a fake address near his home, but not his home, and the guy murdered by police had absolutely nothing to do with the whole original dispute. And when I say murdered, I mean murdered, because before we get into the swatting aspect of this, we do have to address the police stupidity epidemic in this country right now.
Yeah, so first off, even if a real hostage situation had been happening here, what's stopping the hostage taker from making one of the hostages go stand out in the front door? A hostage situation, by definition, includes criminals as well as people in need of rescue. So why on earth would you assume the first person you see is a suspect?
Secondly, even if he was the suspect, why the hell are you shooting him the second he moves? This was not a close-range encounter. These Wichita SWAT guys were parked 100 feet away, across the street, shielded by their vehicles. If you are such a wimp that even with full tactical Kevlar gear, scoped automatic rifles, and a dozen other equally armed and protected colleagues near you, you've still got to take the shot because your suspect might be able to quick draw you like Red Dead Redemption. If that's the case, you're probably too much of a pussy to be a fucking cop. Find a better job. And the fact that we keep getting new examples of this kind of deadly cowardice from police on a near weekly basis these days means that this is an institutional problem.
Also, swatting, not a new thing. Every police department in America has had like 8 years to factor the possibility of swatting into their decision-making process. There's really no excuse.
No.
Usually the results are some broken windows and doors, some terrified victims, maybe in a bad case, up until this point, a dead dog, and also a big old taxpayer-funded waste of police resources. But yes, in this case, an innocent man is dead for absolutely no reason.
A father of two.
Who didn't even play games.
Who simply saw lights outside of his house and walked out to see what it was, and then covered his eyes when a spotlight was shined on him. Yeah. Guilty. Now, generally with swatting, it's really not that difficult to get away with it by simply masking your phone number and then shutting the hell up about it afterwards. But in this case, the argument that sparked the whole stupid tragedy happened on Twitter with loads of witnesses, and Swatistic was proudly tweeting about how, quote, "that kid's house that I swatted is on the news." Upon seeing that a guy had been killed in that situation, he tweeted, "I didn't get anyone killed because I didn't discharge a weapon, and being a SWAT member isn't my profession." Oh.
Sure. And despite changing his Twitter handle soon after, Swatistic, he went even further not giving a damn by agreeing to an interview with Brian Krebs of Krebs on Security via DMs and another interview with YouTube's Keemstar via voice chat. In the Keemstar interview, he took credit for the swatting incident and denied he was all that guilty for the man's death because there's also the guy who asked him to do it, and there's also the police who pulled the trigger. He said, "It's my personal belief that I didn't cause someone to die." His whole position is basically that he's just the middleman.
Hey, I'm the middleman. People ask me to swat, I swat. What are you saying this is my fault? He told Brian Krebs that he decided to get into swatting after being swatted himself, and he took credit for the bomb threat a few weeks back. Remember this one? Classic bomb threat during the FCC net neutrality hearing. This is the same guy. He said, quote, "Bomb threats are more fun and cooler than swats in my opinion. I should have just stuck to that. But I began making money doing some SWAT requests." Like he would literally, people would be like,
Give him some money and...
"Here's 0.0001 bitcoins. Can you swat someone?" Sure, it's my thing. Asked if he feels remorse, he said, "Of course I do." But he also, apparently didn't feel enough remorse to actually turn himself in.
No, but he didn't have to turn himself in because law enforcement quickly figured out who he was and arrested him here in Los Angeles, where he lives.
Woo!
His name is Tyler Barris, and he is so screwed. It's unclear exactly how law enforcement found him so quickly, but it looks like Eric Taylor, a former hacker now trying to turn his life around after being arrested for several hacking and swatting incidents as a teenager, was probably a huge source of information, having offered $7,777 in bitcoins for information on Twitter. Also, pretty decent digital paper trail that this person left.
A lot of bragging. He left a lot of evidence for this and plenty of other crimes.
He was also the guy that called in the did the swatting at the MLG.
Yep.
MLG Dallas.
Yeah. So yeah, in other words, he was outed by supposed friends in exchange for money. And the reason he's so screwed is that in addition to this swatting incident and the FCC hearing bomb threat and the MLG thing, there's apparently loads of evidence now that he's responsible for dozens, maybe even hundreds of similar bomb threats and swatting attacks that he'll now also be prosecuted for.
Wasn't he on probation for calling one into ABC7 too?
That's right. Even worse, for his case, he has already been to prison once for calling in a bomb threat to a local TV station here in LA.
Yeah.
He was out of prison for just under a year before this current arrest, which means he was probably on parole, which is never good when you commit a crime, a similar crime to your original crime while on parole for the original crime.
Pretty easy to
usually bad.
Not understand that this kid, I don't think he's really a genius, Elliot. So.
No.
Okay.
No, not a baby genius. But yeah, so he's arrested. In his pre-trial hearing here in LA on Wednesday morning, he agreed to be extradited to Kansas for trial. And when asked if he was the guy that the Kansas police were looking for, he replied, yes. So yeah, he is so screwed. Going to be locked up for a long time.
Yeah, but with that conveniently wrapped up, the question remains of why it's so damn easy to basically send a police hit squad to potentially murder anyone with a street address. We've already covered the fact that police shouldn't be shooting unarmed suspects on sight, and that's obviously a really big problem in this country right now that needs to be fixed. But there's also educating police about swatting. This swatting call wasn't to 911, which is where you'd assume someone in a real hostage situation would call. It was to a local number for the police, and that should have been a huge red flag, first of all.
Who, when they want to call the police, like, let me go through the old white pages.
No.
Got an urgent need to get in touch with law enforcement. If only there was a convenient 3-digit number. No.
But yeah, you should have remembered the jingle from IT Crowd. It's the easiest way.
Yeah. Additionally, filing false police reports is still just a misdemeanor in several states.
Just despite whatever level of false report it is?
Yeah. I don't know which states specifically, but yeah, in a lot of states, and in those places, it's a misdemeanor, so no jail time, just a fine. Don't do that again. So that's, obviously ridiculous in these sorts of cases. It should be a felony, and any deaths that happen during swatting should be regarded as what's known as felony murder. That's the idea that regardless of your intent, if you're committing a felony and someone dies, you are their murderer.
You're literally hiring a hitman,
Yeah.
but it's the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's the fact that often these kinds of acts are committed by minors, and they're treated as not such a big deal. Boys being boys.
You know how they are, those kids.
And there's not a lot of punishment given, despite the fact that for whatever reason, people who do hacking and similar crimes, they often don't stop until they face serious consequences. They start young and they keep going until something really bad happens to them.
Yeah. Really, though, it comes down to American police being way too happy to just kill people over nothing. It affects people of color disproportionately, but it's a problem for everyone in the country, apparently. Using false pretense to send a SWAT team to an unsuspecting victim's home and getting them killed, it's simply a byproduct, a symptom of a larger problem. But enough of the heavy and very depressing news. Let's get Phil Lorigo in here to bitch about Apple's battery problem. Just problems with their phone in general.
Yeah.
It's first world problems, but apparently so is getting murdered by the cops.
Yeah. They're all first world problems here in America. We got it all.
So as the resident tech guy, whenever a new iPhone comes out, everybody comes to me and says, Phil, why is Apple slowing down my old iPhone? Is it because they want me to buy a new one? And people like me and all sorts of tech blogs and websites all over said, no, you're crazy. What's really happened is the new OS is just more. It's more robust and it takes more processing power and more RAM to make it look all smooth and do cool things. And that's why your old phone seems slow. But I was wrong. A Redditor by the name of TechFire recently upgraded his OS, or her OS, and it turns out that his phone started running really, really slow. So it just so happened he took his phone in to get his battery replaced at an official Apple store, and when he got his phone back, it started running a lot faster. So he scratched his head and ran Geekbench, got some benchmarks, and put those up against an older phone with a beat-to-shit battery on an older version of iOS, and guess what? Phones with bad batteries were running very poorly compared to new phones with new batteries. Well, once this news hit the internet, Apple eventually had to respond, and they owned up to it and said, yeah, we're throttling old phones. Boom! Take that, Phil, and every tech nerd that defended Apple from their Apple fanboyisms. So basically, Apple's response was, look, these old batteries can't deliver peak voltage, which is required in very stressful situations, say when you're updating 19 apps while looking at something with JavaScript or playing a game. So what we do is we throttle down your CPU so your phone can still run without crashing, because that's what Apple claims happens. When the news broke, the internet kind of was split. A lot of people were saying, hey, you know what? This is what Apple does. They make their products just work, and you know what? They're making their old phones just work, albeit a little slower. The other half was like, fuck you guys. You're making old phones slower, and that's planned obsolescence, and you guys are the trash we thought you were. So Apple responded by saying, you know what? Instead of paying $79 if you have a qualifying iPhone, you can pay $29 to have your battery replaced, therefore giving you that pristine performance you had before. So this basically dates back to iPhone 6s and newer. So if you have one of those, you can walk into any Apple store and for $29, get a brand new battery and supposedly brand new performance. My whole take on the thing is this. Apple to me is viewed by a lot of consumers as consoles, kind of versus Androids, which are viewed as PCs. People just expect them to work. And if you have to have some sort of menu thing that you opt into, or a performance, or if they give it some cool name like Retina display, it's gonna kind of go over a lot of people who get Apple products for the sole purpose of not having to deal with tech bullshit like this. So I don't think it was the wrong thing to do. I just think that their response is the right thing to do publicly. But again, guess what? Even if you have an older iPhone, you're still spending more money on Apple products.
Well, thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
That's great. Good thing I got this baby. Google would never, ever do that to me, would they?
I guess we'll just have
Google?
to wait and see. I think we have to go through one more generation of upgrades before they'd start doing that to us, Elliot.
No, they totally will. Anyway, yeah, in other news this week, if you've got an Intel processor in your computer.
Oh, wait. Oh.
And I got a good.
Most of them do.
Got a good feeling you do.
Yeah.
It's got a massive security flaw. A really, really bad one. We're talking every processor that Intel has released for the past 10 years. So yeah, the source of this news seems to be from Intel themselves, meaning that the security flaw is still possibly not being exploited maliciously. They're just giving everyone a heads up. But the flaw apparently allows any normal program, or even JavaScript websites, to access a device's kernel memory, which is basically the deepest, darkest secrets of your computer that has stuff like passwords and protected files and login keys. They can just bloop.
Yeah, it's all really bad, but you should have gotten rid of JavaScript ages ago. As long as you've done that and aren't downloading random programs off the internet, should be good. But in the meantime, to fix all this, a patch has to come at the operating system level, aka Windows, Linux, or Apple, and the fix will inevitably slow your computer down, with CPU performance reduced by between 5 and 30%.
No!
So it's not just iPhone users, we're all getting
Getting throttled.
slower computers. Oh, and before you, Lisa Sue loving AMD kids start gloating, Intel is claiming this problem is found in nearly all modern CPUs, regardless of the manufacturer. So stay tuned for AMD and Qualcomm and all the rest of the chip makers to let you know that they've also screwed up and you're going to pay the price.
Yeah. Great time to upgrade. Actually, no. Great time to... We're all gonna have to wait probably 6 months to a year for the good chips to come out, and then we can all upgrade.
Yeah. Next, we'll see you next CES, everyone.
Yeah.
Woo! Which, speaking of CES, next week should be pretty fun for Tech News Day.
I don't know. CES is always really bad.
We're gonna get 8K TVs and then 16K TVs, and have you seen the car?
Yeah.
It doesn't even have a driver.
The best part about the TV stuff, though, like the Ultra HD 8K, it's like impossible to capture that with video.
Yeah.
You have to see it with your eyes. It is remarkable with your eyes, but it's so hard to like report on it. It's just like,
There it
we
is.
swear it looks awesome. You wouldn't believe how good this thing looks.
And have you seen this car? It's driving itself. There's nobody there.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, VR,
AR.
VR, yeah, probably a lot of AR. But if
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet on it, a lot of AR, a lot of self-driving. I'm sure one of those companies is gonna be like, hey, check it out. This car that just pulled in here drove all the way here from New York City.
They did one from San Francisco to Las Vegas last year.
That's why I'm saying New York City this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to be live in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeehaw!
Next Saturday, I believe.
Something like that.
Something like that. We're going to be hosting ETC Live from San Antonio, Texas at PAX South, and also a live episode of ETC Party Time where we're going to be playing a bunch of games. We want you to come out. The venue is going to be Howl at the Moon, which is on that Riverwalk thing that they have there.
Is that the piano bar?
Could be. Don't know.
Do they serve
Haven't seen an email yet.
Tex-Mex?
I think so.
I want to get some of that Tex-Mex.
Everybody's talking about it. Anyways, we'll be there next Saturday sometime in the evening, so stay tuned for more information. But if you're going to PAX South in San Antonio, check our Twitters.
Yeah, we'll be there.
And
Apparently.
we'll apparently be. We just found out. Anyways, we'll see you there. Let's make it a good one. And check out some of the other videos. We talked about Logan Paul already in this one. He screwed up.
Yeah.
But if you want to turn back the...
Keep the spite flowing.
turn back the time and see who the worst people of 2017 were, where we had a whole year to catch up, check out another
You
video.
know, I kind of think we might still be in 2017.
Who knows? It's the
That's
Twilight Zone
my
for all.
theory is 2017 didn't end.
Bye.